Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Culture Nerd Podcast. This week, Michael and I are sitting down and talking about some DC stuff. And just because I want to really badly, we're going to talk about some Gundam stuff. Everyone who follows the show or just follows me on social media knows I'm a huge Gundam fan. The recent prologue of the new show coming out, the G-Quacks, or however you pronounce that insane title, came out in theaters in Japan, and the internet in Japan apparently is losing its mind because of what the show has done and that nobody saw coming. So we're going to talk about that show for a little chunk of it near the end while I just want to rant about it. We're also going to talk a little bit about some Production Weekly stuff, some Marvel stuff that Michael wants to talk about, and some new casting for some DCU characters that are actually official casting. So without further ado, let's jump in this and let's talk all the nerd stuff. And here we are. You muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
And here we are. Hello there, Tebe. You're looking fabulous. There's
Tebe, that's a new one.
Tebe, I've called you that before.
I don't think you have.
I've said it before, but roll the tape. I've said it before.
We'll find it, maybe.
What a week.
There's
so much other news going on. I feel like I'm so excited to tune into nerdom. Where do you want to start? Should we start with Supergirl?
Let's start with Supergirl. So James Gunn took to social media to officially commence the official filming of Supergirl. And there is the first look at Millie Alcock as Kara Zor-El in a scene that fans quickly realized is actually the bar scene from the comic, where she is kind of incognito hanging out in this alien bar. Fight happens, and then her suit gets kind of ripped up, and the Supergirl outfit's underneath it all. And James Gunn went to social media and said, "I am thrilled to see cameras roll at Warner Brothers Studios, leaving Levensden. I don't know. It's British. I don't know. On Supergirl with Craig Gillespie to helm the phenomenal Millie Alcock as our Kara Zor-El. Craig brings an incredible sensibility to the story, and Millie is every inch the unique Supergirl envisioned by Tom King, Bill Quist-Evely, and Anna Nogueira." One thing that I thought was pretty cool about this was, along with obviously the first look at the back of Supergirl's head and the bar scene, you get to see the production symbol, and it's literally the Superman symbol from Man of Superman, but no yellow background. It's got the red and the blue, kind of like she's had sometimes in the comics, and it's got this whole spray painted motif, which gave me a lot of like the Dark Knight Rises kind of vibes, where Batman had his little bat symbols all chalked all over the place.
First reaction to that picture: do they have hoodies in space? Do aliens know about hoodies? Does she look out of place? Is everyone like, what the fuck is that thing doing in here? Or do other people wear hoodies? Because you would wear a hoodie to hide your identity. But if it's an alien bar, like, they're going to know you're a human. They're going to know you're not an alien.
Obviously, they're going to know that she's not, like, they know she's a human. But from the DC Universe standpoint, humanoids are all over the place. Like,
that's not funny. I keep calling her a human. The actress is human. She is an alien. So they know. Okay, so yeah, they're aware of humanoid aliens. Oh, okay. I guess that's.
So they're probably just like, okay, that's some weird outfit, but she's probably an off-world or whatever. Because we're probably going to get like a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe here, where she's going to be walking around in whatever she wants to wear, and that's just not the normal thing that other humanoid characters wear. But no one's going to bat an eye at it.
I'll let you spoil it for me. Is Supergirl's outfit based on Superman's, or is this what sometimes it's the outfit they leave the planet in?
No, so in the comic, she actually had the outfit she left the planet in, while she was also wearing the Supergirl outfit underneath it. So she's probably wearing that as that was like her street clothes. But when like shit gets down and she starts fighting people, that stuff's going to get destroyed, and she's going to be sporting the cape and the S and all that stuff, and she's probably going to have that sword too, because that was part of the ensemble in the comics.
I feel like I feel like James Gunn doesn't get enough praise, and I feel like every week we're shooting him down some way. The fact that this movie is starting, it's filming, it's happening. I know it doesn't feel like it, but this is this speed is clicking along, and I can see in another 7 to 8 months time, we're going to be talking about the third project. We're going to get another picture of like, hey, here's a. Do you think we see a Green Lantern? Do you think we see?
Well, funny enough, Lanterns on HBO starts filming next month. So
Wild.
Probably in the next few weeks, we're going to be like, here's the Lantern. But also, speaking of lanterns, because this is what comes up, we got some casting today. And the villain of the Lantern show is going to be none other than Sinestro.
Great.
So I know that you were excited about the whole prospect of maybe having some characters that are, you were like, okay, maybe they're just going to do some home earthy stuff. But now we know that Sinestro is going to be playing a role in this show, which to me is some fantastic news. And the actor they got, he's a Danish actor by the name of Ulrik Thomsen. And this actor has a very strong resume under his belt for different roles and a few villain roles that people automatically were like, holy crap, he is going to kill it as Sinestro. From certain films, I'm trying to think, I just drew a complete blank on what this guy is known for, but he primarily, some of the biggest things that he is known for is this project called The Celebration, Adam's Apples, The International Brothers, and a few other projects where people know him as just an absolutely fun villain. So I'm really down with this idea that this guy is going to be pink and have a twirly mustache, and it's going to be beautiful.
Is he like a Christoph Waltz and has like a huge resume in Daneland, and we've never heard of him, and he's going to bring the Danish land where the Danish people live? It's delicious.
Do you know where the Danish are from, Michael?
The Danish are from the Danish territories. There's the Germanic territories, and then there's the Danish territories. A little bit over here, they're a little bit French. A little bit over here, they're eating cheese. Is that correct?
No.
Finland, right? Aren't they the Danes?
It's Denmark, dude. Come on.
Okay, yeah, Daneland. I stand by what I said.
Denmark. Denmark is where
the Danish people come from. Does he have a huge resume there?
He does have a pretty huge resume.
Okay.
So he's very big in Europe. He's very big in Deutschland, where he's from. So he's very big. So the fact that he is now this is some awesome casting solely on the idea that they're getting people that are more quality than what people were expecting, but also relatively unknown quality. It's like when James Gunn in the past has found people for his projects that are just like, okay, I was not expecting this guy, but he found the best of HBO or the best of Showtime, like the people that have made their mark, just not on film yet. Very much like what Zack Snyder did with his Justice League, where he found a bunch of people that were absolutely solid in what they did, just not movie stars.
I feel like James Gunn doesn't take the easy road. Like, he'll keep casting until he until he gets the voice in his head. And you know what's funny? I'm thinking about Groot, and I'm also thinking about the shark played by Sylvester Stallone. I feel like he finds a way to find these little bits within pop culture and inject them into his work. And I'm so excited to see in this new DC universe what new characters he's going to breathe life into, that it was like, oh, I didn't see them in that way. Like Jason Momoa, I already see as that character. So I'm excited to see the other people I don't know yet.
Which is funny because like we see Jason Momoa as Lobo because that's basically who he played in Game of Thrones. And it's not like the hardest thing to be like, oh yeah, that's totally Lobo. But you think about it, you're like, oh, that kind of is. Like, it's just, what if Khal Drogo was kind of like Brooklyn and
you know what's funny?
Asshole? You know, it's like, it kind of makes
sense. It's funny that you brought up Game of Thrones. That cast, that Danish guy looks like he should have been in Game of Thrones.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in House of the Dragon later.
Yeah, like I'm looking at this and it's like, I wonder, is the comic book that this is based on, is it anything like a space fantasy?
Oh, we talking about lanterns? No idea.
No.
We don't know anything about this.
I apologize. I'm already thinking I am mixing these two worlds together. I was thinking if this was anything, is Supergirl going to be like space fantasy? But like, no, it's going to be science
actually,
fiction.
Yeah, very much so. Because the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic, it was very much like in space and very Game of Thronesy at times, where Kara had like a straight up sword and she's fighting like dudes in knight armor and stuff, but from other planets. Like it was very much what considered high fantasy because it's weird, but it's sci-fi, but it's also very fantasy.
Supergirl with a sword is basically like a Thor. And I would love to see, right? Because Thor doesn't need his weapon, but he does need a weapon.
It makes more sense for Thor and characters like this to have just cool weapons because it's like, oh, you could just punch you into the moon. I could, but I'm going to cut you instead. It adds more to the character when they pull stuff like that, and you're like, okay, that's overkill, but let's do this.
With these projects now happening, with the end of Creature Commandos, which I thought was a fun ending. I thought it was a great little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, put them all together. Here you go. What is the next thing that drops, or is it just going to be the Superman movie?
So Superman is the next actual DC product to hit anything, right? So we know that Superman is coming next very, very soon in the near future in the summer. And then during this process, they're also going to start filming Peacemaker later this year. You got Supergirl coming out, as well as Lanterns is getting prepped to start filming like now. So I would not be surprised if it feels like DC went from nothing to a whole shit ton all at once. That's exactly what's happening.
Taylor, I'm going to have to interrupt you. Breaking news. A brand new segment of Let's Open a Pokemon Pack. Taylor, you can choose which pack would you like.
They're all predetermined, dude.
Which pack would you like?
Okay, what pack would I like? Do the Mew pack again. Or are you trying to go back to the old stuff?
I need stuff from the old stuff. I'm only missing a Celebi EX, but I will have somebody trade it to me on the 28th when trading goes live in the game.
Yep. It's going to go live very soon.
That being said, in honor of you, we'll make it a Mewtwo pack.
And Michael knows Mew. We grew up in the era where
choice is an illusion. I'm swiping everybody.
Yep. The best games of the Pokemon franchise were the first two, and they still are the best. I want to give you proper spotlight time.
Ooh!
Oh no,
baby Gengar! Well, it's over. I mean, no, you don't have to do it now.
You ruined it. I hit the wrong button and it minimized you.
I went too fast. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You got excited, but you got Gengar.
I have 480 pack points. I'm waiting. I'll probably use a couple more. I'm only missing a handful of cards, so keep opening those packs. Okay, Taylor, where do we pick up next?
Where do we pick up next? I want to talk about, since we're about the halfway point of the show, we have two more little segments that I want to talk about. And Production Weekly dropped today this fun little snippet that the Bane and Deathstroke movie, aka Secret Six, is being fast-tracked into production. So that actually might start production soon.
But this is an Elseworlds tale. No,
this is DCU. This is where that rumor came from, where Josh Brolin may be playing Slade Wilson. And this is kind of interesting that out of nowhere, this product went from being, we're talking about it, we got a writer maybe, to then rumored that Josh Brolin is talking again, to now we're making this movie like now. So my gut is telling me that Josh Brolin is the reason why this is happening fast.
And he got everyone in the same room and said, hey, I want to make this movie.
Or they were trying to do what they always do with these kind of movies, where here is a very risky project, but what we're going to do to make this project less risky is get someone awesome to attract another awesome person. And then they got Brolin in the room and said, hey, do you want to play Slade Wilson, basically anti-Captain America? And he was probably like, hell yeah, I do. And then decided, and then they're like, oh, now we got a director because he wants to work with Brolin. And that's probably what happened. It immediate went from like 0 to we're filming in a few weeks, very quickly, you know?
Do you think that this will include Deathstroke's family?
Deathstroke's family has always been
of it?
It might, but I don't think it will, because for those who don't understand what the Secret Six is, essentially it's another team, very not so dissimilar from like the Suicide Squad or things like that. But the difference is it's a covert team that was being puppeteered by Lex Luthor. And I always consider the Secret Six as like a very good springboard to introduce the Legion of Doom in a way, where you have Lex Luthor, who's now dabbling with using metahumans in a very task force kind of situation. And these metahumans eventually probably come on his team as you're part of my legion.
Secret Six, fun name, reminds me of Voltron. So it's Bane, Deathstroke, and then probably I guess we don't double dip, right? Is Clayface on that team or is it Killer Croc?
Well, ironically, so over the course of the years, you've had some very cool characters on Secret Six. Deadshot, Harley Quinn, King Shark, Catman. Catman's he's a silly named character, but he's actually a really awesome character.
Okay, Catman.
People like Ragdoll has been a fun one on that team. Mad Hatter, Lady Vic.
Mad Hatter, that's a deep pull.
Yeah, they've got some. It's a very fun team because each team is essentially over the years had 6 members and led by a kind of like a Charlie's Angels thing, where there's a man in the box kind of a thing, and they either call him the Mockingbird or something else. And more often than not, the more recent incarnations, the Mockingbird has been Lex Luthor quietly pulling the strings. So it is a very interesting team. But more commonly in the comics, the more recent comics, Bane was like one of the main characters of this team.
You know what? I think you're right. I think it's just going to be Legion of Doom members. I'm looking at this list. Put the Cheetah, put Solomon Grundy on there, put the Gorilla King. I mean, I don't know if you go that heavy so fast.
Gorilla Grodd, that might be a weird one. He's never really been a member of the Secret Six because he's always been
he is the Legion of Doom.
Right. So it would be very interesting to see them do that, just because I would very much like this to be springboarded to like, okay, they find out that Lex is the guy pulling the strings, and they're like, we're not your puppet, but how about we be your partners, kind of a thing. And that's how they kind of segued into the Legion.
If you introduce this as well, you've now set up the fight for the Batman movie. Any one of these individuals he can then get beef with. It's going to blow up to this thing. Then he's fighting Lex indirectly. Let's get Superman involved. Boom, we got a Justice League movie.
Right. So you can definitely do that. You can springboard off of that and do this very backwards way of introducing this stuff. And with Clayface already being kind of fast-tracked by Flanagan and that project happening, you could easily flesh out the Batman world before the Batman movie comes out. I think that's the difference what we're getting before. Like, we're not getting what Sony did. And Sony basically said, we're going to make a bunch of villain movies, but we don't know how to add Spider-Man to them. We're just going to do this. But instead, you can have...
all of those movies would have been better if Spider-Man just showed up once in any of those scenes. In any capacity. Just choose one and have them show up, and those movies would have been wildly better.
But what I think what they should do, and this is my ongoing theory, is that maybe they decide, okay, we're going to have a Batman, we're going to make it happen. But in each one of these villain movies, you get a shot like this, where Batman is like, I'm going to get you, bitch, and like comes out of the shadows, or kind of like the Suicide Squad, where they're all like, oh, we did our mission very well. And they're walking down an alley, and Batman's like, whew. And then just behind them, they're like, shit, and then the movie ends. You know, like just have Batman catch them all one by one, or in the sake of, if you're adapting the project of Batman and Son, like we already know is kind of what's happening with the Brave and the Bold, you can kind of do it like you did the animated show. Like Talia shows up to Gotham and says, take your son because Deathstroke's trying to overthrow Ra's al Ghul. And then you have Deathstroke, who's already been set up in another movie, just show up as the main antagonist, hunting down Damian Wayne.
Wow.
So you have a lot of options for some really cool storylines, very interconnected storylines. And the way you do it is by doing all these interconnected, disconnected spin-offs that people don't realize are all going to be connected in the end.
I'm watching this tapestry get thread, and I'm so excited, and I like James Gunn's approach to this. Can we talk what the other side is doing right now? Because there's been a lot of news that has been coming out about the rewriting of these Avengers movies, and there was also Benedict Cumberbatch was talking about what's going on with Strange. He was going to be
not going on with Strange because he basically said we have some ideas, but no one is doing anything with it.
Yeah, I think it all got messed up when what's his name left. Correct?
Right. When the previous director said this isn't working, and they basically turned his movie into a Scarlet Witch movie. They like kind of did like a last ditch effort to rectify that movie, and that's how they got Sam Raimi in it. And the movie was fun. I liked it a lot, but also it is not the horror movie that Scott Derrickson, I think is his name, was planning on doing with it being a Doctor Strange project.
Right.
They made it into something else. And then you have all the stuff all the deleted stuff that they took out of it. Like we understand that the Baron Mordo stuff, the character that at the biggest unanswered plot thread of Doctor Strange is, I'm going to take away all the magic, and then he just never shows up again. Right. You had the fact that movie was going to start with him showing up and saying, I need to stop you because I need to stop all the magic. And then Wanda would be like, and just snapping his neck. And you're like, oh no, she's bad. Like, so you had all this stuff that they wanted to do to kind of fill in those holes. But then they made it too much like WandaVision, and they spent way too much time focusing on this young Avenger character who has not been touched since.
Yeah, and it's wild that we're talking about all of that, and the next Marvel property that's coming out is the Captain America movie.
Right.
Which, is it, Taylor, is it coming out? And also, what version are we on?
6. It's gone through so many recuts, refilmings. They've added entire characters and storylines and like 20 minutes of the film in post. So it's going to be one of those films that people are going to be like, wait. What do you mean this wasn't even part of the original plan? Like, they screened this film. Nobody liked it, so they filmed an entire act that was made based on feedback.
Wow. So
it is a wild project, and I don't know. I feel like they missed the opportunity to. There's so many ways they could have easily explained the recasting of Thunderbird Ross, but also at the same time, like, Harrison Ford's a great actor, and they should have just gave him the mustache. Just let him have the mustache, unless people would not realize he doesn't seem like the same character at all. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, even he just looks like Harrison Ford, like old Harrison Ford. But if you had the mustache, you could kind of rationalize it a bit.
I also think Harrison Ford I think he's a great choice for a movie actor, like a movie star, but like he's like
Nicolas Cage. He plays himself. Like
he doesn't want to be there. He's only doing this for the money. He tells everybody that. You should have got a Nicolas Cage, because a Nicolas Cage would have given you a fabulous. He would have insisted to do all the mocap himself.
Yeah, you'd be like, I'm going to be out here doing this. I'm going to be in the green paint doing this.
Well, like we do kind of get a fun. I know it's filming. I see pictures on the Los Angeles subreddit. When is that Spider-Man Noir coming out?
Oh my goodness. So that we're gonna before I go into my Gundam rant. What is interesting is that Sony had fired their guy who was running the Spider-Verse projects because he ran them into the ground.
Because he was doing a bad job.
Right.
All of those movies were not good. Each one did worse than the last movie.
Right. And then what it sounds like is happening now is that they're moving forward with this idea of saying, why don't we just make a bunch of Spider-Man films, but we do it from the juxtaposition of what people actually want. So Spider-Man Noir is still happening, because that was one of the projects that didn't die in this whole culling. But it sounds like they're going to be moving forward with basically a live-action Spider-Verse branch of, here's one Spider-Man, here's one Spider-Man. And they're going to basically introduce a shit ton of variant Spider-Mans in live-action form, and that's going to be the spin-offs that we get going forward. And to me, that actually sounds like what they should have done to begin with.
Are you playing Marvel Rivals?
I am. I was really good with Magneto, and I really liked it.
That has the robot Spider-Girl, Penny Parker.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of her DLC costumes is not so subtly an Evangelion suit.
Okay. I feel like that, the success of that Spider-Verse movie, give us any version of a robot Spider-Man, and I think people are going to eat it up, especially as a TV series. Speaking of robot girls, I guess they're reshooting Ironheart again? Because
how they finished it like 2 years ago.
I read that they're doing reshoots because they're trying to add in some of this new Avengers movie that's going to happen. So there's
because you're right. I did hear about that. They're adding in entire angles to reconnect it to their Young Avengers projects as well as the Secret Wars stuff. Like,
does that just mean Wolverine shows up? Because I guess he's now back for a decade.
Yeah, they did say that. Hugh Jackman is signed on for another 10 years, which is just wild to me. But they're probably like, we tried recasting it, nobody quite does it, and everyone just wants Hugh back.
I will also and depending on the success of this refab, I think that there will be a demand to bring Wesley Snipes in for the next MCU Blade movie.
I would love it if they just do like an Old Man Logan style Blade movie, and just Wesley Snipes is like the only living
one.
He is like, the vampires have taken over my world, and I'm fighting with the resistance. And it's like it's Blade and like a bunch of like random night hunters, and they're like, we're gonna stop the vampires. And it's just like they've been fighting this war for 50 years. He loses his team, he collects a new one because he can't really die. So they could have a lot of fun doing like an Old Man Logan style film with Blade.
Fuck it. Let's jump the shark. All of those monster characters. Remember when Marvel had monster characters for like a solid year? Have Blade.
So that was actually the plan, and it hurts my brain so much that they dropped the ball. They introduced Moon Knight. They introduced
Shang-Chi,
the Werewolf by Night. They introduced the Man-Thing, and the whole idea was that they were going to try to do a Midnight Suns project with basically all of the street level and supernatural villain characters, like even Daredevil and all those characters are going to be intermixed in it. Blade was going to be intermixed in it, and they were going to go fight Dracula or something. Like, they were going to go full on occult monster hunting. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why they were like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like,
it's wild to make
told people.
They made like 7 properties and then did nothing with it.
Like, you could see that they were aiming for something. Maybe if they just told people, by the way, this is all not interconnected nonsense. We're going to go fight Dracula. People would have shown up, and there would have been more memes of the, where are you, Dracula? Where's my money, bitch, from Moon Knight? People would have been like, I'm ready for this interaction in live action. But nobody talked about it. It quietly died, and I'm still wondering why they let it die.
We need to have a Marvel-focused episode another day.
No, it's going to be bad. It's going to be mad. Me just mad all the time about all the things that they just didn't do.
Let's talk about something that makes you glad. Okay, tell me about the Gundam.
So the new Gundam show.
And I can't.
Spoiler alert.
And I can't watch it. Wait. I don't know if I want to know these spoilers. What are these spoilers?
You're going to want to watch these spoilers. All right. So
when do I get to watch this?
So the new Gundam show, Gundam G-Quacks, the weirdest name, GQUUUX, G-Quacks, is doing what they did with The Witch from Mercury, and they're going to do a prologue project leading into the show. Witch from Mercury had a prologue episode 0. Gundam G-Quacks is having the Gundam G-Quacks, the movie, aka The Beginning. And this project is coming to America.
The Witch of Mercury was such a different tone from what the show turned out to be. I wonder if this will also be tonally very different from what the show is going to be.
No, it's not. That's the most magical part about it. So what's unique about this, the film itself is out in Japan right now, and it comes to America with apparently a dub next month in February.
Wow.
And it's going to be out. I am going to find any theater I can see it in on the biggest fucking screen I can. What nobody saw coming, because the Gundam franchise has been known to like do some off-wall holy shit kind of like, they don't get leaks, so nobody knows what's coming. So we knew that the main weird Gundam was going to be this big thing. And we knew that this weird Gundam was going to be designed and directed and all this stuff by the Evangelion team. And that was all we really knew. But what we didn't know was when the movie started rolling, it takes place in an alternate timeline of the 1-year war. And they straight up started the project showing the 1-week war where Zeon dropped the space station, the whole colony onto the Earth. And then what they showed was this different moment. So when the strike team goes to go invade the colony and get the Gundam, instead of those 2 random Zeon soldiers, Char goes with them. And he steals the white Gundam.
Char is successful in his mission of getting the Gundam.
He steals the RX 78.2, obviously very redesigned by the Ava team. And then he paints that bitch red, calls it the new red Gundam, and then he wins the war.
The red Gundam looks like the bad
guy. Like an Ava. It's like a straight up Ava.
And it also reminds me of the bad guy from Tron for some reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So he does this, and in the process, he destroys the RX 7801, the 01 Gundam. And this was an actual prototype Gundam that was used in Zeta Gundam and other shows. So the team sends a Gundam after him, and he destroys it.
That Gundam is also very not Guyver, but I don't know. It looks like other Japanese superheroes with the antenna, Knight Rider.
Yeah, so it has all these designs came out, and people were like, okay, so the Zakus look weird. Oh, there's White Base. Oh, there's the Big Zam. There's Char Zaku. There's all like people started when they got the pamphlet for the thing. Oh, there's the gun cannons, and people very quickly realized that this show is basically we're going to take the 1 Year War, and then we're going to spin it on its head. We're going to basically redesign everything from the team that did Evangelion because they want to make everything Eva like. And then
it means that the world
we're going to fast forward a few years, and this is going to be a new timeline where what if Char stole the Gundam? What if he won the war? And what if Zeon is the superior winner? And this is kind of set during the time frame that Zeta Gundam took place, but none of that ever will happen because they won the war 5 years earlier.
It's also going to be a much darker universe because the bad guys won, which means
that's always the argument. The Zeon forces were always a lot more extreme in their views, but what they were fighting for was freedom. They basically said, we have our colonies, and the Earth is telling us that we can't. We're like the Americans in our colonies saying, why is Britain being a dick? But instead of like fighting like fair and everything, they're like, we're just going to drop a colony on you. We're going to drop asteroids on the Earth. Screw the Earth. We don't want you. And like they were just very much extreme versions of revolutionaries.
Does our show take place on Earth or in space?
A little bit of both. Bit of both. But what we have now is this new Gundam, the G-Quacks.
You could just look at all the spots that you can plug in. This is version 1.0 of this suit. This suit's going to get upgraded like 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah, so the suit itself is called the G-Quacks, but what we also understand is that it's not the actual name of the suit. There's an actual they call it other names in the show, in the movie. They call it the Machu, and then there's also a hidden name that the real name of the suit, and they haven't revealed what that is yet. So a lot of people are like wondering, could this be like a weird alternate variation of like the Unicorn Gundam or something, where this is just
I think so.
Insane.
The Unicorn Gundam,
right?
Like, that's the Gundam that looks all like a basic bitch, and then
it's like surprise, bitch, and it opens up and becomes like
it's a great
like
Gundam.
Super Saiyan, right? What is that weird? But so like this project, now there's probably just someone using a door and there's a vacuum or something. Or maybe it is a ghost. I don't know. When you're a parent, you really hope that the sounds you hear are ghosts and not your children. But we know that this takes place way later. This high school girl is the new main character. She meets a war refugee, and joins up with her in what's called the new clan battles. And essentially what this project feels like from this movie is this is the weird setup of Witch from Mercury with the original Gundam as a backdrop. And what if the bad guys won and this is the world we have now? And
I think it's not. I'm excited for this thesis. That's my favorite thing about anime is that they take a thesis and just play with it. And I'm excited that Gundam has been so open as a franchise to be experimental with its storytelling and that none of this stuff, it's the original show is what it is. We're not going to touch that, but they're not precious with these things. They let other people play with it. And I'm excited to see what this turns into.
What's always funny to me is that these projects are kind of what DC does with Elseworlds, where you have like the main canon, the 1 Year War, all that stuff. They're still adding to it. They're still adapting projects from that war. Like we had that Gundam show, the Gundam movie that came out on Netflix, where it takes place after Char's counterattack. It's part of the canon of that world. And then every few years, they're like, oh, main canon. Also, here's a side story. Here's an Elseworlds project. Here's Witch from Mercury. Then let's go back to the main canon. Here's a side story. What if the Justice League were bad guys, aka this show? So you have this insane kind of duality that the Gundam franchise has been doing for years. And what's the most amazing thing to me is that this show centers around what if the bad guys had won originally? And you can tell that this show is going to be messed up because they let the Ava people do their thing. And the Ava people don't do their thing lightly. They always go nuts with it.
Also means that these kids are new types.
Yes.
Which
No,
means
and that's actually a thing that's in the main.
They're going to be psychically talking to these robots and we're going to see an episode where a person spends a whole episode on a train talking to their dead mother.
Probably, because that's what they did in Ava a lot. But what is also unique is that from what I've gathered so far is that each of these suits also has kind of like this. They all have like, how do I describe it? They have their own little AI co-pilot with their suits. And the main girl's AI co-pilot is the Haro from Amro's Haro from the original show.
Love it.
Like, so you have all these throwbacks and all these remixes of the original stuff. And also, Michael, to also answer the comment that you made many moons ago when we first talked about this project, the character designer for the show, the person who actually designed all these modern day the kids, was actually indeed the character designer for Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Hell,
no.
Did I fucking nail that?
You're like, Pokemon characters. They are actually. The guy actually designed all the characters from that singular game, and then was hired to redesign all the new characters that aren't Char and all the others, and not the mobile suits. So the reason why that kid looks like a Pokemon character is because that's what they were going for.
Last question before we wrapped. Have you ordered McDonald's Happy Meal through the app so that you get the Pokemon coins for your game? Did you get the McDonald's toy for your phone?
Did I get myself a Happy Meal the other day?
Yeah,
get a pack of cards? Yes, I did.
Did you?
I want to do it again.
I'm going to make the wife order for me tomorrow.
Let's see what we get in this thing.
Ooh, live opening on air.
Okay. I got the Myriadon.
Very fine.
So it's not the Charizard, so I'm not excited. I got Rayquaza.
Ooh, I love a Rayquaza.
I got this thing, Hatiana. That was from Sword and Shield, right?
It's one of the new guys.
Oh, and then an Eevee.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to get a couple more Happy Meals tomorrow. I'm going to make an excuse and be like, I'm taking the kids to McDonald's, and then I'll be like, we bought 4 Happy Meals.
Did you buy it? Did you buy it through the app so you get the Pokemon?
I didn't know that's how you did it the first time I did it, but
now
I do know. Yes.
Will you buy one for me and send me the code?
Nope.
You're a son of a bitch.
The code is mine because the new drop of the packs start next week, and I'm going to need all that shit.
But you only get one per account.
What? Really?
Yeah, I'll send you a guide on it. Sorry.
Give me if that's what it is, I'll give you the code. I'm not going to be a dick about it.
No, it's legit. I'm telling you seriously, they're really keeping a close eye on this economy, on the what people are getting and stuff like that. No, it's only one per account. Let me send you the thing. Who did I send it to? I sent it to my sister Jenna.
Of course you did.
Okay, let's wrap this. We can. She quit. She quit acting.
She'll be back.
Maybe we'll see.
But anyways, this show looks insane, and the the HG model kit is already going on sale. And I've watched some people review it, and they said this is the most insane model kit that they've ever had, and it doesn't feel like a Gundam, even if it is a Gundam. But they also say it's for better or for worse. This is a very insane kit. So I need to go buy this thing.
I love it. And I'm excited to see it in action. I'm excited for when it hits Crunchyroll. Maybe I have to go see it in the theater as well.
Yeah, you will. Because I need to see all the trauma of the Gundam, the original Gundam show on big screen in modern day retelling. Like when Char dropped a colony on a city and killed billions. I need to see that on the big screen.
It's going to be a lot of fire. It's going to be a lot of people running around. It's going to be. It
always does a great job at telling you, like, oh, by the way, this is Gundam, and it's not for kids. It's about how horrible war is, and they're going to start off by genocide. That's how they always start these things.
Well, that's how it usually starts. But this is how our show ends. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to support our show, please head over to the patreon.com/theculturednerd. If you have your cell phones ready for this episode, please like, comment, subscribe. All of those things make this show more visible. Thank you very much. Question of the week: what Evangelion things do you want to see in Gundam? What Gundam things do you want to see in Evangelion? It's a real Reese's peanut butter sandwich. Taylor Murphy's been your host. I'm Michael Santel, your co-host. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see all you kids and cats next time.
A Reese's peanut butter sandwich? You're gonna have to explain that to me. I don't know what that means.
It's a sandwich of peanut butter and chocolate. It's a sandwich.
I think he made that up.
I guess.
He did.